guess we can just pick right back up at Genesis 2:24 and 25, because we were talking about these two verses and we didn't we put them on the back burner. So yeah, now it's kind of the time to get into it, and you'll see that it's a whole like Hebrew wordplay that's at place with this, what's going on in the garden, starting with these two verses here. All right, so it said, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So now, first question that comes to my mind is, a man leaving his father and mother. This, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. This is something that is obviously not the words of Adam, but it's getting added in as an interpretation to this is what was going on. And therefore, and you see that this statement, though, is going to be very important, because obviously with Adam and Eve, what father and mother was there for them to, you can say, all right, well, Elohim, but why would they leave him to be together, right? So it's something that's going to start taking place post the garden, and it's going to all make sense. So, and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So the word for naked there is H6174, and is aron, which just means to be naked. It's from H6191 in its original sense, which is the same word. H6191 is the same word, same Hebrew letters. We're going to come back to that a little bit later, because it's going to show up again in the story. But yeah, for now, just remember this word naked, aron. All right. All right, so it says, Genesis 3:1, it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, yeah, have Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. So I wanted us to see something very important here. So notice how the serpent operates. He didn't force his will upon the woman. Instead, he planted a seed of doubt in her that will cause her to question if Yahuwah has her best interests at heart. In this process, what is in our heart is made known. So his goal is to appeal to a desire that exists in you that is not in unity with the Father's will. That's what his goal and desire is. He ain't got to do much. And then obviously we know James chapter 1, right? Verse 14. Every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, right? So your own desires was going to get you, right? All right, so notice the relationship between the field and the garden. Remember, the garden was planted and the man was placed in it. The man was to guard and to keep this garden. The field, however, is where the serpent has come from. So now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made, right? So the word there for field is sade, which H7704, from an unused root meaning to spread out. A field as flat country, it's a field, it's the ground, but it's wild. All right, so comes from the root, or I'm sorry, that's the Brown Driver's Briggs to the right there. It's a field, it's land, it's a cultivated field, it's the home for wild beasts, it's the plain, and it's the land. All right, so the serpent is the most subtle of all of these living creatures that are out of the field. So it's something that's of wild nature about the serpent, right? He's not governed under the rules of the garden. He out there in the wild, doing wild things, doing his own thing. Huh? Mm-hmm. 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 Ishmael. Mm-hmm. All right, so what can we learn about the field? So Matthew 13:24. He says, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of Elohim or of Yahuwah is like unto a man which sowed tove seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared tares also. So the servants of the house of the master came and said unto him, Sir, did you not sow tove seed or good seed in your field? From whence then has it tares? And he said unto them, an enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, will you then that we go and gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both of them grow together into the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather you together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Right? Jumping down to verse 36, he gives us the interpretation. He says, then Yahusha sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his Talmudim or his disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, he that sows tove or good seed is the son of Adam. Now, highlight that right there and just keep that in mind. The one who's sowing the tove seed is the son of man. This is the son of Adam, right? The field is the world. So something about this field that the serpent came from, perhaps the world and this field that he come from, they have some similarities, right? The tove seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. So notice how this pattern works from person to person. This process takes place within the person. The fruit that each person brings forth is what shows whether they are of the seed of the kingdom or of the wicked one. The field is the world. The field is the world and represents a dwelling place where the wild and ungoverned reside. So if you aren't under the covenant of Elohim, what are you? Of the world, right? Covenant of dark, yeah. Do wow, right? Doing what you want to do, right? So then we know in James 4:3 it says, you ask and receive not because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your lust or your desires, right? You men and women that are breakers of wedlock, know you not that the friendship of the world is enmity with Yahuwah? So something about this enmity, as we know, and later on in the story in Genesis, this enmity, this is where this enmity starts. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of Yah. Do you think that the scripture says in vain, the ruach that dwells in us lust to envy? So just something to think about, right? We seeing this parallel between the serpent, how he get down, where he from, and a parallel between those that are operating under his will even to this day, right? And some of us have been that very thing, as it said, in some, we was once of the world, right? So seed of the serpent, John 1:9-13 says, that was the true light, which every man that comes into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become sons of Elohim or Yahuwah, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Yahuwah. So again, noticing how the world, you're gonna start seeing that this field, these wild tares in the field, is gonna be, this cycle is gonna keep repeating. So John 14:15 says, if you love me, guard my commandments, and I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Ruach of truth, whom the world cannot receive. So it's something about this truth, and it's something about this comforter, that in order to get this, you got to be tapped into doing what? Love and guarding these commandments. Then he's going to send a Ruach, and then now you're going to start seeing that there's going to be a whole process, right? Of this sealing for your redemption, this covenant, all of this stuff taking place. But the world can't receive it. Why? Because it sees him not, neither knows him. But you know him, for he dwells in you and shall be in you. There's something about the world that don't want to be governed. Right? So notice how they operate. Those of the world prioritize their own desires over the will of Elohim. This is one thing that separates those of the world from those of the covenant. Keep in mind, those that accepted the covenant said, all that you say, that I will do. Right? Acceptance of this covenant is a turning over of your own will and your own desire. That means that you trust that whatever the legislator of this covenant was that you joined with, whatever you said, that's Tob, and I trust it. Right? So when we look at this from the garden story perspective, could it be possible that the serpent is trying to sow a bad seed in Adam and Kor? Both seeds will bring forth different kinds of fruit. Each seed was planted by different sowers with different motives and expectations. One intends to get a Tob or good harvest, while the other's objective is to corrupt the Tob field that was planted. These two seeds lie dormant in the ground until the time comes for them to bring forth. And once these two seeds meet a certain point of maturity, they bear fruit. This fruit is what determines whether or not they will be harvested for the master's pleasure or thrown into the fire because of their own pleasures. Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. Right? So, what is a serpent? Word is H5175, Nakash. And it's a snake from its hiss, meaning serpent, right? We know nouns come from verbs, so you always got to look at the verbal root of a word to understand what are they saying about this, because it's something about this thing that they observed, and this is the word for it, right? Adam named all of these animals based off of an observation that he saw, and it's something about what he saw that's why you in the Nakash, right? H5172. Nakash, same word, primitive root to properly to hiss, that is to whisper, right? To whisper a magic spell, generally to prognosticate, certainly to divine, an enchanter, enchantment, learn by experience, indeed diligently observe, right? A man of the field. Yep. Khan. Khan.
That's why good people why
Khan.
Because you need to, probably the way you need to be learn by experience and observe diligently. Not the magic spell part, but you know what I mean.
Khan. Like we're gonna see how it can either be for your Tob or for Ra. One, but that's the thing, is dealing with him, you're gonna get the mixed bag. Right. It's before it was all Tob, and that was it. Just listen to the command and you'll be okay. But now, dealing with him, I got a choice. And it can go one way or the other, and which way I'm gonna lean? Am I gonna lean on towards the Father's desire and towards the command, or am I gonna lean towards my flesh? Because I had the free will to do both. So, go ahead.
just gonna say like, yeah, what are you being diligent for? Are you being diligent so that you can in turn make somebody to pray? Or even if it don't start like that, are you are a token of steward to watch out over your abilities so that not miss you to turn somebody into a prey? Or are you being diligent so that you cannot miss that who's your master? Being cool.
All praises. That's it in a nutshell. Like, if we don't go over nothing else, that's pretty much the moral of the story. Like, all praises. So, hearing Yah's voice. So, notice how one of the goals with the serpent is to get you to lean on your own understanding and to lean on what you have learned through experience. So, now there is a told way to learn from experience, but there's also an evil way to learn from experience. Like we said a couple weeks ago, like, could you imagine, as wicked as folks be in 70 years, if they had 900 more to add on top of that, and just gaining experience of how to manipulate and take advantage of it, would be, where would it be? Like, that's pretty much the
Punishment be first. Think about it. Punishment doesn't be first. That's why they're showing kindness in that.
Oh yeah.
Bro, in the whole world, like, listen, hey, not a way to judge. Still trying.
That part.
And in scripture, that's that there is a wisdom that multiplies bitterness. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not just talking about, you think on one level, on one with, okay, you make this bad decision and now you gotta pay for, whatever you did immediately. Now there's a wisdom that multiplies like bitterness, like you're passing out hurt, you're causing other people to hurt and causing, a path of destruction. In the wisdom that you're gaining, yeah, you're able to see this, that, and the third, and yeah, you're gonna eat from that. But so yeah, you're gonna eat from that, but that wisdom, there's, like wisdom that does multiply that bitterness. You multiply other people's bitterness, and then you go multiply your own bitterness in the end, because you're gonna have to eat from that.
So when you only have your experience to lean on without wisdom, that's going to be the key. And when we talk about wisdom, we talking about one that's based in the fear of Elohim. There's a chance that your understanding of a situation may be skewed or one-sided. When this occurs, there's an opportunity for deception. Consider the weight of this question that was asked in the garden and what their experiences had been in the garden up to that point. Only leaning on their previous experiences with the other trees in the garden is going to cause them to err in judgment. All of the other trees were told for food, but this tree was different. There was no way to understand this tree in light of the other trees in the garden. This tree existed in a different context, and the only way for them to understand it was from the vantage point of Elohim. They could not understand it outside of the commandment that was given. Leaning on their own understanding, and in that particular, that's where they're going. We will see in a second, when she saw, this is Topher, comparing it to the other trees that she didn't experience. Well, yeah, you're gonna get caught up. It's a tree just like all the rest of them in here, right? That's why he asked her, did he not say you can eat from every tree in the garden? Wants you to lean on that own understanding, right? Genesis 2:9. Out of the ground Yahuwah made Elohim, or Yahuwah made Elohim, made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, told for food. The tree of life is also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of Tov and Ra, good and evil. He commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of Tov and Ra, good and evil, you shall not eat of it. For in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Right? There's no way to understand that command based off of the other trees. Impossible. Only thing you can do is trust what he told you is the truth.
Interesting. You want to come test me now?
So Proverbs 3:1, he says, my son, forget not my Torah. Let your hand guard my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace, they shall add to you. Starting to see that same pattern again, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. My apologies. Let your hearts guard my commandments. Toda, thank you. So he says, verse 3, let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them about your neck. Write them upon the table of your heart. So shall you find favor and Tob understanding. So keeping these commandments is going to lead you to the Tob understanding in life, in the sight of Elohim and man. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah and depart from evil. It shall be health to your navel and marrow to your bones. So, seeing that pattern here in these Proverbs, right back in the garden, right? So now in our lesson over chapter 2, we learn of the importance of the task that Adam was given in the garden. He was instructed to shamar, guard, keep the garden. If we recall, we'll remember that the meaning of this word also meant to look narrowly. In our previous lesson, we also went over how this word shamar, to guard or to keep, protect, works in relation to his instructions, or in Hebrew, his Torah. We saw how on many occasions, Elohim tells us to guard or keep his commandments in our heart. So the question is, do we remember what the word Torah means? Law.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is it the root word to aim?
To aim.
Like an arrow.
Yeah, like an arrow, right? So Torah, right? It's obviously a law, direction, and instruction, right? A lot of times, especially speaking to people that outside of understanding what we understand, when you bring up that word law, it's like a disconnect. If you say, oh, these are Father's instructions, they receive that for whatever reason a little bit differently than, oh, this is the law.
Yeah, law is a trigger word for them.
Time.
Restraint, constraint,
Yeah.
oppression, depression, all assessing at once.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oppression.
Time. Unrighteous, unjust laws
Yeah.
being put against.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Again, leaning on your own understanding. When this is your only understanding of what a law is,
Yeah.
you'll come to that conclusion, right? But really, from their perspective, they understand this as instruction, direction, right? It can, as a whole, be a body of prophetic teaching, instruction in the messianic age, a body of priestly directions or instructions. We get it, right? Also, customs and manners, right? We get it. The root of the word, properly to flow as water, that is rain. Transitively, to lay or throw, especially an arrow, that is to shoot, to point out, as if by aiming the finger. An archer, to inform, to instruct, right? So the root of this word is literally pointing you at something.
Yeah.
Torah is supposed to be pointing you at something. Got something?
I was just gonna say, because, looking at the word for Torah and just, understanding what we understand now and everything, it's, the Torah is our culture.
Mhm.
Torah is our culture, your customs,
Mhm.
your manner, your code,
Mhm.
the things that, oh no, we don't do that. The way you speak, the way you dress, the way how you bring your children up, that pointing, that direction, that's a guidance, how you guide your children. No, we're not doing that, baby. No, listen, but we don't do that. Oh no, that's all day. We do that. This is our culture. This isn't like law, like the direction, the instruction of the Most High. This literally, this is culture. It come with foods, particular kinds of foods.
Certain things that ain't on the list.
and certain things that are. And I got a theory too. I'm gonna tell you. Oh, yeah.
All praises.
But yeah, that's just brought that to my mind. Like immediately, that's the word that pops up is our culture. Because that's the thing that to me, that's a word or an ideal that embodies or blankets all of that. Blankets all of that and puts it into terminology that's like more modern that I can like relate it to. That's supposed to be for the culture. That's supposed to be what it is.
Yep, this is the thing that sets us apart from every other nation.
Yeah. Yes.
All praises.
Yeah.
So we saw that this word means instruction, but also implies an understanding of an archer aiming at a target or hitting a mark or a target. So we see how the relationship works between keeping the commandments and Shamar and Torah. When we are aiming at a target, you cannot take your eyes off of the target. You must look narrowly at it. You can't look to the right or to the left. You have to look straightly at the target. Otherwise, you'll miss the mark or miss the target. Interestingly, in Hebrew, the word for sin, kata, means to miss the mark. So this is how obedience to Elohim's word works. All right, so now keeping this in mind, do we see why the serpent started with this question? He wants to see if Eve will look narrowly at the commandment of Elohim, or if she will look away and allow other things in her sight in addition to the target. So Deuteronomy 5:32, it says, you shall observe Shamar to do therefore as Yahuwah your Elohim have commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left. You shall walk in all the ways which Yahuwah your Elohim have commanded you, that you may live and that it may be well with you, and that, you may prolong your days in the land which you shall possess. Deuteronomy 12:32. What things soever I command you, observe or Shamar to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto nor diminish from it. It is for this reason that Yahuwah tells us not to add anything to his word or take anything away from his word. It is already complete and perfect just as it is. When we add to it or take away from it, there is only one result, and that is disobedience. Again, notice the desire of Elohim when he gives it instruction. It is always for our benefit. So Revelation 22:18 and 19 says, for I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. Any man shall add unto these things, Elohim shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of this prophecy, Elohim shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the set apart city or holy city and from the things which are written in this book. So the question is, why is that important as it pertains to the garden? Not adding to, not taking away. Right? We don't see something where how it got kicked out ain't how it got kicked back. Right? So adding to and taking away. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. He said unto the woman, yeah, have Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said. Now, you don't put Elohim's name on this. It better be right. You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. Right? So we know, right? Is this what Elohim said, or did she just add to what Elohim commanded? And on the surface, it seems like no harm, no foul, right?
You might think you're doing something wrong. Like, yeah, I can't eat it. I'm like, well, I might not even touch it. I can't even touch it.
Right? He said the priest put hedges around his Torah. They put certain hedges around his Torah, right? But what ends up happening is, now, if I do test this boundary a little bit, wait a minute, I ain't died. I touched it, I ain't died, right? And there's a whole thing on where exactly did she get that bit of information? Is Adam the source of why it got kicked to her this way? Did Elohim tell Adam and then Adam tell her this way? Or is this just her own invention of don't touch it? Or did she get that? Was she told not to touch it? We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. But something worth pondering on. But we do know how Elohim said it in 2:16 and 17. It says in Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of Tov and Ra, you shall not eat of it. For in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. It didn't say anything about touching.
It, and that brings me back to the question that you had asked earlier, or a question with the statement that you had made earlier, like there would be no other way for them to understand it compared to the rest of the trees. But in my mind, it's like, that would, right there would be a way that possibly they could understand it, because if we are to be wise, absolutely said, wise as serpents, in a sense, as doves. No, observe, primarily look on that thing, see what it is. Let someone else eat it, see how it reacts. Like, learn from somebody else. Say, what happens? You have to see where the chips fall, see what goes on.
And that's a total point, because it's like, my guess is that ain't nothing, at least to my knowledge, it doesn't seem to be anything else on the planet that has this knowledge of Torah and Ra. So it's like, they probably not messing with it. They probably eating from all the other stuff, but they not even messing with it. Like, it's certain stuff that's out in the wild that animals just, they know. Don't mess with that.
Yeah.
It's gonna fold me. Like, don't mess with that. So it's probably sitting there full with fruit all over it. Like, ain't nothing eating it. Like,
mess around, because they know. Like, I imparted a little bit of wisdom and all, like, they know. I'm not fooling with it. Yeah, like, observe that thing, pick it up, look at it, note its characteristics, see the patterns on it, whatever the thing is. I'm just trying to bring it, to a practical, understanding. Like, maybe that's a way that could have, like, what we supposed to do. Is we supposed to be wise as serpents? No, we're supposed to observe the opportunity to sin, but sin not. Observe what it is that you're looking at, understand what you're looking at, mark the patterns, mark those that cause divisions among you, mark this, that, and the third. We supposed to be marked. Why we not supposed to mark stuff? Mark those things that you notice, the characteristics of certain things, and gain the wisdom from it. That don't mean you got to eat it. You don't have to ingest it to gain the wisdom from it. You can observe it.
And if you want that instruction for yourself, don't make it like it was a command and it wasn't. Be like, I ain't gonna, he is set up, but I ain't gonna mess with it. I'm not even gonna touch it because it's gonna help me out.
That part.
Say that versus no.
He said, don't touch it.
Yeah.
No, he said don't eat it. But for me, I ain't even gonna touch it. That ain't what I want to do. Make your
personal boundary, yep. All right, so hopefully we see what occurred there. Elohim never said anything about touching the tree. His commandment was that they don't eat of the tree, otherwise they would die. The serpent's way of temptation was to see what was in Eve's heart. Did she have the commandment of Elohim in her heart, not adding to it or taking away from it? Or was she willing to take away from it or add to it? If we are willing to take our eyes off of hitting the mark, the serpent knows that by default, we will miss the mark. This was the purpose of asking her this question first. Now that he sees that the word is not deeply planted in Eve's heart, and that she has added to the word, he sees an opportunity to deceive and give his word to her. So, Genesis 3:4, and the serpent said unto the woman, now he about to kick his game to her. Let me whisper in your ear. Let me put this on you right quick. You shall not surely die. Right now, he can tell her. Well, what did he say? A word? That's what he said? Nah. Now, let me tell you what I'm saying, right? You shall not surely die. For Elohim knows that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open. You shall be as Elohim's, knowing Tov and Ra, knowing good and evil. Now, notice here what their eyes will be open to. They would know both Tov and Ra. When you look at this word, or when you look at this in Hebrew, you see that the Elohim that he told them they would be as was not the Father. If you look there, that's the reason why they translated that with a little g and put the S on it.
Mm-hmm.
All of the, in Hebrew, you can tell based off of the words surrounding Elohim, whether or not it's speaking of the Most High or whether it's talking about a general term, a general usage of the term. That part. Already made in his image and likeness. Already got dominion. Already
Already a mighty one.
What else do you need?
Trick.
Yep. Something else additional that they're desiring, right? And we gonna see, oh no, it's my own ability to determine what is Tov and what is Ra, right? That's what I'm after. I want to be able to say what's right for me and what's wrong for me, right? This is the kind of Elohim that he's trying to be as, right? It says,
That part.
in this context, the term Elohim refers to the other powers or mighty ones, not the Most High. They would then have the authority to determine what was Tov or Ra'ah for themselves, thereby eliminating the need for the command of Elohim. What they called Tov would be Tov for them, even if it was considered evil by Elohim. That part.
Yeah, the lies.
That part.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. That part. Psalm 119:17 says, deal bountifully with your servant, that I may live, and guard your word. Open my eyes. So the serpent wanted to open their eyes in a certain way, but this is a whole different opening of the eyes, right? Open my eyes that I may behold wondrous things out of your Torah, right? That kind of opening of your eyes to see and understand more about your creator and what he expects out of you. Okay. Determine your own Tov and Ra. Nah. Right?
All alone. You got Gotham City in real life.
That part. That part.
We have Viola growing eyes.
That part. Mm-hmm. He says, I am a stranger in the earth. Hide not your commandments from me. My soul breaks for the longing that it has for your judgments at all times. You have rebuked the proud that are cursed, which do err from your commandments. So, go ahead.
Just looking at Psalm 118, verse 19, I'm a stranger in the earth. Kind of hits on that duality, what's in the garden versus what's in the field. That's just open expression of relinquishing the world to get joined unto Yahuwah. I'm a stranger in the world. What place you need to be? Mashiach, you got no place to rest here.
So point. Excellent. All praises. So, the question for us then becomes today, what are your eyes open to? Right? I hope that we see how this works. Notice how the serpent just took away the commandment of Elohim. This is why Elohim says not to add to or take away, or not to take away or add to his commandments in any way. When we do either of these, it will lead to death. Whereas if we obey his commandments, we will receive life. But let's continue and see how the effects of adding to or taking away from his command, to see the effects of adding to or taking away from his commandments. We will see that when we do this today, we will get the same result as a result of the situation in the garden. So Genesis 3:6, and when the woman saw, so now what is she doing? Her eyes opened up all right, right? She using them bad boys to interpret and lean on her own understanding, right? That the tree was told for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desired to make one wise. all of the things beforehand, it was the other trees was told for food. This one must be too, right? She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Excuse me. So we have gone over why Elohim gave the commandment, and that it was because he loved them. Sure, it's possible for us to see this in hindsight, but why didn't Eve see this? Right? She was the one that was deceived. Adam, ain't nothing I can do for you. You know what I mean? Like, hey dog, you knew. But at least for her, she can say, I was deceived. We will find the answer to this question is the same reason that we struggle with obedience today. The answer is that we cannot see Yahuwah's heart until we understand what's in our own heart. In other words, if we are blind to what's in our heart or our feelings, we will not be able to see what's in Yahuwah's heart. But if we realize what's in our heart or realize our feelings, we will see that they are not like his and put away our thoughts. So remember John 3:30. But why did the serpent want to take the commandment away from them? Right? So
Deuteronomy 28, verse 1.
Mm.
In keeping the command of the Supreme One, it comes with, it's a package deal. If you've been commissioned to, and you step up to it, and keep this, guard his commands, you actually appreciate him and guard him, it's a package deal. It comes with dominion. I said the Supreme One. And you can put that dominion down too as soon as you step away from your commandments.
That question, were your eyes open to it? I think it's important to ask because we always said not everyone has the same issues, problems, temptations. So it's like you said, like you just said, it's important for you to be able to know. Of course, it goes for us to be mature and to not get swayed by anything. But in that time of we discovering ourselves, what we, what we tend to not suffer, but like our temptations or whatever, desires, whatever the case may be. It's important for us to know ourselves, that take self-evaluation to be like, what do I struggle with? And then staying away, from things that may tend to do something you're not supposed to do. It may not be the same for everybody, but as you're working towards being perfect and mature, you have to step away from that and, don't let your eyes see, or your ears hear, or whatever the case may be, what is going to be a temptation to you. Until you can get to the point, really ever, but until you get to the point to where it's not anymore. You know what I mean? So then, like you said, I think it's important for us to know ourselves, like just discover yourself, take some time to see, what do you struggle with or what are you tempted with? Who are you? You know what I mean? Because it's different for everybody. It may be the same, but it's not always the same. Depends.
that's garden, that's the shamar, right? Guard, keep this garden. That means you're going to guard what's coming in or what's coming out. Remember, we saw what a servant does. Oh, nah, I need to know what's coming in and what's coming out. And anything that ain't supposed to come in here is supposed to get kicked out. Anything that's supposed to come in here ain't supposed to leave, right? You got to be a good steward over your own heart, if you will, being the earth. All praises. So Proverbs 20:27, the spirit, the nephesh of man is the candle of Yahuwah, searching all the inward parts of the belly, right? We keep seeing how this works. He gonna test and see, okay, what's your appetite? What you got a taste for? And if you make that same thing for me, will I eat it?
That part.
If it's something unclean on this plate that I'm not gonna eat, you might not want to eat it. Because if best believe you in my house, or you want to stay in my house, I'm gonna be hold on, how that get in here? because I'm a guard until as well. You got to go, right?
And then be honest, like if you do go to someone's house, they have this and that, and you like, no, I ain't gonna touch that because of whatever. You gotta be able to speak up on that. You can't be like, oh, that's okay. I don't wanna seem too crazy, whatever case may be. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and then you
speak
end
up
up
on
eating of it just for the sake of somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, nah,
whatever, regardless of what
whatever.
it is.
Yeah, use discretion
Be
with how
honest.
much you're
Be
gonna go in
honest.
depth with that individual, depending on the opportunity that's there before you. But definitely don't eat of it for sure. Which experience teaches you a thing or two. Yep. Put it that way. But could it be that the Father is seeing what is in you? So how much do you desire his word and accept what he says is right or wrong? Notice how the serpent's goal was to cause them to become adversaries to the Father by appealing to their own understanding. In this same way, we are made enemies to Elohim by calling evil what he calls Tov and calling Tov what he calls evil. If you notice, it is usually a person's own experiences, whether Tov or Ra, and / or traumas that causes them to see things from their own perspective. For instance, the Hebrew diet is set apart from others because we are instructed to stay away from things that otherwise would seem just fine to eat to us without his commandment. One's own experience and opinion can cause them to treat this command with contempt based on positive experiences, or quote unquote positive experiences, with what Elohim called unclean, right? From where I'm from, you eat the pig from the, as my grandmother would say, from the rooter to the tutor. Every part of this bad boy is edible.
I'm sure a lot of our relatives and ancestors have shared in that sentiment, sadly. But science always backs up Yahuwah's command. Come on. And scientifically speaking, there's a long list of elements that come from consuming something. That genetic makeup, that molecular makeup is based off trash. Like that what you eat is a real thing because your body breaks stuff down so it can enter your bloodstream, the building blocks, your cells. This thing is put on earth to consume garbage. It's garbage control. It's like shrimp and a bunch of other bottom feeders in the water. It's wow. Same. Such a low state.
Cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Break down like crab leg, catfish, like all these things. We just coming into the world might have contempt about regarding something so small but big, that's your diet. You know, oh, what you mean I can't eat no more shrimp? What you mean I can't eat no more crawfish? It really understood that the shrimp, the crawfish, the crab, the sea urchin, the pig, those things, they literally are the waste buckets of the earth. They literally eat other things, feces. Like that's their diet. They were created to eat feces. And just like you said in the previous slide, if I wouldn't eat that, why is you bringing that talk about the Most High? If I wouldn't eat feces, why are you bringing me something that ate feces? Because in essence, you still bringing to me feces. It don't matter how you wrap it up, package it, put a bow on it, it's still feces. It don't matter. Just like he was saying, that is it. You are what you eat. Whatever you eat is going to be a part of your genetic makeup. It is essentially going to give you the nutrients or not that your body needs to replenish itself. And if you're not getting the proper nutrients from what you're eating for your body to replenish itself, instead you're getting inflammation, you're getting high cholesterol, you're getting clogged arteries, you're getting a shutdown of organs, you're getting
white or red blood cells, or weakened ones because they ain't got what they need.
Right, that part, insufficient white and red blood cell count. If you're getting the evil and you're always dealing with ailments and stuff, why not? Cause it like it's again small, but it's big at the same time. Like, yeah, why would we give that to him? And why would we take that in ourselves? Because what he did and say what people say what they want to, because yeah, there is a point in time when the Most High did start allowing certain things, but from the beginning, so he told us what was optimal. And that's just it. Just like saying what law, difference between law and direction or instruction, difference between those two. No, he gave you what was optimal, the instruction for optimal health. He said every green herb. He called it the tender shoot, the things that shoot up and are tender. The fruit off the tree, everything having seed within itself. That's your meat. And when you think about it, what do we eat now? If we eating a cow, we're eating a goat. We're eating things that eat the stuff we're supposed to eat in the first place. I'm not demonizing nothing, no, because people do, what they want to do, and they're at different places. And I'm not going to condemn anybody if I ain't got a heaven nor hell or none of that, Sheol nor bosom to put nobody in. But when you look at it for what it is, he gave us the instruction to get the engine running on all cylinders optimally. He told you what to do. Again, that adding to it and taking away from you, what you want to with it. You reap the benefit thereof.
Wow. Nowadays, folks be like, oh, these foods help fight cancer. A lot of it's greens, herbs. Just helping getting your body back to where it's supposed to be, homeostasis. Everything is getting sufficient enough to be functioning the way it's supposed to, and things start to level up.
Come. So just notice how the same can be said about what Elohim called Tov, right? We can call it evil or treat it with contempt based on a negative experience that we have had, right? So Isaiah 5:20, it says, woe unto them that call evil Tov and Tov evil, that put darkness for light, light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in what? In their own eyes, right? So this opening up your eyes, this is what it's going to get you. And prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Therefore, as the fire devours the stubble and the flame consumes the chaff, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust. Because, why? Because they have cast away the Torah of Yahuwah Sabaoth and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. So notice the parallels between what happened to them and the tares in the field, right? Same thing. All right, so Proverbs 17:15, just that one verse. He that justifies the wicked and he that condemns the just, even both are abomination to you.
Never thought of it in this context, but I'm like, dang, all the lawyers that for pay, and got people off heinous crimes. That's outside of it. Still, like,
Yes.
it's like, it's highlighted in my mind right now. It's like, yeah, because transcends what man got to say, still affected by it. Now, you can ignore the effects of things in your life, just like anybody addicted to anything. Ignore the negative effects because you want to just keep aiming for that thing. Don't mean you're not affected by it.
That part. But yeah, notice here what can cause you to justify the wicked and condemn the justice, what you was just talking about. Whatever that thing is that you aiming at, can skew you And you might call some Tob Ra or some Ra Tob, right?
Yeah, I'll eat too.
That part.
If his only desire was to please his woman, it's still at that moment outrage his submission to the Lord.
Mm-hmm. That part.
In that moment, by him consenting, he was justifying that wicked act of disobedience.
Mm-hmm. So could it be that your own perspective can cause you to have a skewed judgment on a matter? Sometimes this is done intentionally, and sometimes this is done because of ignorance. We are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and we are deceived because of this. Ezekiel 9:4. And Yahuwah said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a tab or a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others, he said in my hearing, go you after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have you pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the tab, or upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men, which were before the house. So keep in mind that these are the ones that's crying because of the abominations that are being done that they see in the world. Like you were saying earlier, I'm in this world, I'm a stranger. Ain't no place for me in the midst of this, right? This is the remnant, those that are still in agreement with the Father on what he says is Tob and Ra. And they are grieved on a daily basis because of the Ra that they see, right? Proverbs 17:15.
Being briefed by that documentary.
Huh.
Somebody else might go, oh, whatever, they me.
Huh.
It's not being briefed.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. So notice those that were in agreement with Elohim were marked, but those that were not in agreement with Elohim were judged according to what they were in agreement with. Right? And that's the thing. It says in another place in, I believe it's in Romans chapter 1, at the end of Romans chapter 1, where it talks about not only those that are partakers of this, but those that also take, like, that support those that you in agreement with, those that you ain't have to do it. You standing in agreement with this thing.
Psalms 52, I believe. Saw beef and you consented. Being judged matter is wrong. It's revelation.
I can see that those who love and who make the life.
All praises. So here we go. So let's go back to verse 1 because it's something that I wanted us to see. So it says that the serpent was more subtle, right? Now remember that word that I told us that we was going to come back to. That word for subtle is H6175. Arum, which means cunning, usually in a bad sense, crafty, prudent, subtle. From 6191, properly to be or make bare. So notice before they were around, naked in the garden, but it didn't phase them one way or the other, right? But after receiving what he said through his subtlety, he made them naked in a whole nother sense. Khan.
Everything else.
All praises.
Righteousness.
Khan. So to make bare, usually, right, through the idea of smoothness, to be cunning, take crafty counsel, right? That's what they did in the garden, right? And through this crafty counsel, through his subtlety, they were what? All the way naked. And now they got knowledge of this nakedness and saying, well, hold on, wait a minute, I need to hide. Oh, snap. Something ain't the same, right?
Okay.
All praises. So what's going on here? Remember all the things that we learned up to this point. We learned that Yahuwah desires for us to be in unity with him and that he wants us to be as he is. But this serpent speaks to the woman as if this is not his desire for us. We learned that Yahuwah desires for us to live and that we obtain life through obedience and that death comes from disobedience. But this serpent says otherwise. If we notice, the serpent makes it seem as if death is not the end result of disobedience. We learn that Yahuwah gives us a commandment because he wants us to live. So why does this serpent approach the woman with lies? What was the serpent's goal for approaching the woman in the first place? In answering these questions, we will see that the serpent's goal was for the woman to disobey the commandment of Elohim. But here's the thing. The serpent knows why Elohim gives us his word, his commandments, and his law, and the promises of both obedience and disobedience. Knowing this, he wants you to disobey the Father before you realize it. His goal is to accuse. So, drawing a parallel, man follows the serpent's pattern. So now you're gonna notice that through that the serpent's subtlety, right? Through his crafty counsel, through his whispering, you're gonna start to take on something like him. And you're going to become like him instead of in the image and likeness of Elohim. All praises. Absolutely. Absolutely. All praises.
We said it earlier.
What's your discipline? What's your discipline before you even know it?
Because that's all it takes is for you to lean on your own understanding. And as long as you operating out of that, you're not going to see no rod and tobe. You're not going to see no tobe and rod. You just operating off of your own understanding and how you can gauge it.
That's why that's associated with pride.
That part.
Being the beginning of the time away from the make it.
All praises. So, drawing a parallel, man follows the serpent's pattern. So Genesis 3:5, for Elohim knows that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her man with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew not that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons or coverings. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his woman hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. So notice what seed they just brought fruit from, right? Within them internally. Notice what fruit they just bore, right? Now you got to run and hide because a seed of disobedience was planted in you. And you fed it. Drawing a parallel again, man following the serpent's pattern. Ezekiel 28, verse 1. The word of Yahuwah came again unto me, saying, Son of Adam. Now, not to get too much, if you look up that phrase, son of Adam, this is like a specific term that has a specific meaning in the culture and in the understanding, and it don't just get, they're not using this. It's a generic term, yes, as a son of Adam, but as a title, it's that part, and that part. And when this is, Ezekiel is like one of the few prophets that this is even applied to. And then outside of that, we see it Mashiach, and we see it prophetically speaking of this one in the heavens that's sitting on the throne next to the Most High, one like the son of Adam then? Like, it's something that's unique about this unique individual, right? But yeah, just to point that out, that it's something about this son of Adam, and it's because it's a role or a function when they're saying this that they're gonna operate in. So it says, "Say unto the prince of Sor or Tyre, thus says Adonai Yahuwah, because your heart is lifted up, and you have said, I am an El." But what was they trying to do in the garden? I sit in the seat of Elohim in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man and not El, though you set your heart as the heart of Elohim. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from you. With your wisdom and with your understanding, you have gotten you riches and have gotten gold and silver into your treasures. By your great wisdom and by your traffic, have you increased your riches? By the way, that word for traffic is the same word for Canaan.
Yeah.
And your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, thus says Adonai Yahuwah, because you have set your heart as the heart of Elohim. Meaning, I say what's told. I say what's evil. I call the shots. I do what I want.
There's us and none else.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I make my life.
Mm-hmm.
I control what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Says, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon you, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom, and they shall defile your brightness. They shall bring you down to the pit, and you shall die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Will you yet say before him that slays you, I am Elohim? You gonna keep that same energy?
Come on.
But you shall be a man and no ill in the hand of him that slays you. You shall die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers. For I have spoken it, says Adonai Yahuwah. Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of Adam, take up a lamentation upon the king of Sor, and say unto him, thus says Adonai Yahuwah, you seal up the sun, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You have been in Eden, in the garden of Elohim. So now you got to ask the question, what is this son of man doing, casting these judgments, and what is he casting them against? Right? Because on the surface, it looks like it's just talking about the king of this nation. But it's something else that he's casting out these judgments on, right? You have been in Eden in the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering. The sardis, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of your tabrets and of your pipes was prepared in you in the day that you were created. You are the anointed cherub that covers, and I have set you so. You were upon the holy mountain of Elohim. You have walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day that you were created till iniquity was found in you. So again, we're drawing a parallel because man is going to follow this exact same pattern, right? Notice in the future, Israel, all these same stones, all on the breastplate, right? But through sin and iniquity, all of that gets stripped, right? Made naked or bare. All praises.
What that means, when you pointed out how in eating of the serpent seed or taking of it, man follows in his ways, and even to the point of you saying the serpent's goal is to accuse. What did Adam do in defense of himself?
Oh, that's told. Yeah.
That's what resonated with me. As soon as you said it, I'm like, instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Ate of the fruit will produce the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So blessed.
All praises. All praises.
Yes,
So he says, by the multitude of your merchandise, they have filled the midst of you with violence, and you have sinned. Therefore, I will cast you as profane out of the mountain of Elohim. What happens to Adam and Eve? They're going to get cast out of the garden, right? And I will destroy you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty, and you have corrupted your wisdom by reason of your brightness. I will cast you to the ground. I will cast you to the ground, and I will lay you before kings, that they may behold you. Now man is going to do what? Return to the earth. You see all of these parallels. You have defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your iniquities, by the iniquity of your traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of you. It shall devour you, and I will bring you to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all men that behold you. All they that know you among the people shall be astonished at you. You shall be a terror, and never shall you be anymore. So notice the parallel between Adam in the garden and anointed cherub. They were both in the garden and were both created in a very esteemed and tobe state. Both fell because of their own desire to be an Elohim by not submitting their will to the Creator. Because sin was found in them, they were subject to judgment. This is a judgment that is set for all of those that are of the wicked seed. Elohim has given the man a chance at redemption, hence Ezekiel being a son of Adam, a son of man, casting judgment against his, what do they call it? The predator, like the mongoose got the snake, your natural enemy, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo,
opposition.
Yeah. Like,
come on.
Elohim has given a man a chance at redemption because of his mercy towards mankind. Keep in mind Numbers 15, where it talks about the unintentional sin, right? And how there's yet still a sin of ignorance, but yet you got to ask yourself the question, well, how is this a sin of ignorance when everybody here has said what you have said that I will do? This is, I partook in this, but I ain't fully understand exactly what I was getting into. It's not so much the same as the presumptuous one who is like, I know exactly what it is, and I straight up don't care, right? There is a difference between the two.
Yeah. I think Israel showed a lot of that too, though. Not caring.
And that's why there were a whole generation that didn't see his rest. That's why it was, he gonna separate them, definitely. So notice how Ezekiel is purposely called the son of man, or Adam, when giving out the judgments in this prophecy as a symbol of the redemption of Adam through faithfulness, right? So there is yet still a chance for the sons of Adam to be redeemed, but it's only through one way. But draw the parallel, the man follows the serpent's pattern. So 3:9, it says, and Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, the woman, being an accuser, absolutely, whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the woman, what is this that you have done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So notice how the serpent's subtlety, this Arum, caused them to become naked. Arum. This is how what was in him became a part of them. Now, instead of them being as Elohim and in his image and likeness, they have now become like the serpent. So, curses for our redemption, right? What we're going to see is that all of these curses on the surface seem to be Ra, but they're actually for our toe.
He's not this.
All praises. So, Genesis 3:14. And Yahuwah Elohim said unto the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly you shall go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity, we've been talking about that enmity, between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be towards your man, and he shall rule over you. And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your woman, and have eaten of the tree, of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread till you return into the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return.
All praise. Let's get really excited. Like you're saying, those curses seeming like, okay, this is a harsh judgment because it's for our ailment. When no, really is to point you right back to the hood. And even in verse 19, just a logical or layman's term way of looking at it. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return unto the ground. You're going to learn to appreciate the Shabbat and everything that comes from it. Like, you're going to be looking forward to a day of rest. Because you don't work, you ain't going to eat. Unless you're doing something unlawful, and we're going to see how far that gets.
Yeah.
All praises. Yep. So, recapping, the serpent will now eat dust all the days of his life. So, you got to ask the question, what was the man made from? Could it be that the serpent will forever have an appetite for the sons of Adam? So, keep in mind 2 Peter 5:8, right? What did he say? He's a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour.
Praises.
Going back and forth in the earth. He has an insatiable appetite for the sons of man.
He's going to be judged for it. You're going to be your own demise from here on out. Ain't no repentance.
Ain't no repentance for you.
That's why. All praises.
All praises. Because he already told him what? He gonna crush your head. Well, why would you run up on him then? But you can't help yourself because you got to eat at his feet.
Got your appetite, and I ain't going to give you a way out.
That's it. Everything that the Father did is all he gonna get his at the end of the day. So there's now an enmity between her seed and the seed of the serpent. The woman will bring forth children or seed and sorrow because of this. Her desire will be to her Ish, and he will rule over her. In the ground, the Adamah is cursed because of the man. And it will no longer bring forth only Tob for him, but instead it will produce both Tob and Ra. Only by hard work will he get increase, and the man will return to the dust. All right, so all of these curses are set in place to try and prove mankind. In this testing, the wheat is separated from the tares. All of those that bring forth fruit of the seed, which is the word of the serpent, are considered tares and cast into the fire at the great harvest. All of those that bring forth fruit worthy of repentance from the seed of the word of Elohim are gathered up and harvested for the Father's pleasure. So notice that there will now be this battle between Tob and Ra and mankind for the remaining generations because of the fruit they ate from. There's still an opportunity for the man to be redeemed through his willingness to work the ground, the Adamah. If he puts in the work, he can still get told from it, right? It's going to bring forth thorns and thistles if you do nothing to it. But if you work it, you'll get bread. Hosea chapter 10, verse 12. Sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy. Break up your fallow ground. You got to work your own ground. And what's that ground that he's talking about? Your heart.
Exactly.
Sow the righteous seed, right? So you can reap in mercy. For it is time to seek Yahuwah till he come and rain righteousness upon you. You have plowed wickedness. You have reaped iniquity. You have eaten the fruit of lies. What was it that the serpent told the man and the woman in the garden? Because you trusted in your way and the multitude of your mighty men. Right? So all of these curses are things that Elohim put in place because of his mercy and love for the man. He chastises whom he loves. This battle is why reproofs and corrections are the way to life. Those that understand the curses have the opportunity to put in the work and eat the tobe of the ground. All praises. Unto the woman he said, verse 16, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your man, and he shall rule over you. Now, we've often looked at that as like flat out curse, like ain't no tobe in this, right? Like, why I gotta, like, it's often looked at that way, but not realizing that literally every aspect of these curses were set in place for our tobe. Right? So when you look at that word for rule, it's H4910, mashal, right? Which means to rule, to have or to have dominion, to be a governor, to reign, or to rule, right? Even this has its role and function in our redemption. If we look at this word from what the man is supposed to do for the woman, as a pattern of Elohim's relationship, it's a pattern of the relationship of the man with Elohim. So the purpose of this is to establish his unity and oneness, Akkad, in his house. This order will serve as a boundary for both the man and the woman and will bring them to oneness with Elohim as long as they submit their will to the Father, right? So in layman's terms, the man ruling over the woman comes with a requirement for the man, right? So you're going to notice that in order for him to rule or mashal to govern over the woman, he has to be governed by Elohim.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So this is the interesting thing about this word mashal, right? H4910. Starting at Proverbs 1, right? So I'm going to go back. That word for rule is the word mashal, to rule, to govern. And this is what he's supposed to be doing for the woman, but you're going to notice that it's something that he needs that's going to rule or govern over him, right? Proverbs chapter 1, starting at verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. So they took crafty counsel. But this here, these proverbs, this is designed so that you will turn to wise counsels.
And the subtlety that the serpent gave them, not being the same subtlety that the Most High did. He gave them his own form of subtlety. Whereas in obedience unto the Most High, gaining the wisdom from obedience unto his instructions, we still would have gained subtlety. We still would have gained that discernment on how discretion that we needed on when to act, how to act, and what measure to act in. but yeah.
Mhm. All praises. It says to understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So that word for proverb is the same word that was used for what the man is supposed to do to the woman. Mashal. This is how the man becomes a guard and covering for the woman as her head. There is a trade-off. The man must be governed by the word of Elohim in order for him to govern the woman. When Elohim rules over the man, he is equipped to rule the woman. All of this comes together to bring oneness in the house of Elohim. But to rule, you must first serve, right? So, Matthew chapter 20, verse 25. Yahusha called them unto him. This is after they had the dispute, right? The sons of Zebedee had the dispute about, put me on the right and put him on the left, right? And he says, but Yahusha called them unto him and said, you know that the princes of the other nations, the world, right, the field, this is how they operate out there. But in here, we don't move like this. The princes of the other nations exercise dominion over them. And keep in mind this dominion, right? And they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the son of Adam came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. So keeping this in mind, it shows us the kind of dominion a man is to have over the woman. And thereby that they together are supposed to have over everything else, right?
I was going to say, because like you and I were talking about this the other day, actually for the last couple of days, how especially in this walk, we get introduced to the domineering side of everything. And we hear it shouted from the rooftops. You should be subject to your man. Shut your mouth, sit down, be subject to your man, submit to your man, submit to your, where's your head? Where did that? Like we constantly hear that blood as women of the domineering side. However, just thinking about all of things in context, and especially this one, because we hadn't discussed this particular point of it, we were thinking about other, scriptures, and literally also looking at the testimony, that the walking testimony that is life. Like, okay, how does that domineering side actually play out? If don't nothing else tell you what's true about the Most High, you can see it act out. What's going to be the result of that? So we were just talking about that the other day, how we do hear the domineering portion of it, but we don't hardly ever hear about the submission of the man unto the woman. That's taboo and forbidden. That's not saying the woman is over him, but I look at it like it's a dance. If the woman is supposed, because I think a couple weeks ago we were talking about the woman being a tower against death unto the man. Your tower your watchman on the tower ain't doing you no good being up there if you don't listen to him when he says there's danger ahead. He does no good up there, just like your wife. She's no good unto you in her, but she's not fulfilling her position if she can't tell you something and you be obedient to that or consider that and submit unto that as an instruction, as if she is also hearing from the Most High on a particular matter. And so we just, like I said, we were talking about that, and absolutely kind of just like think that portion of it needs to come out a little more as well. The balance. It's not just heavy on what, because there's always rank and file with the Most High, we understand that, but as Maisha was saying about it, like, the governing is never gonna come by constraint, not in righteousness. So when you're domineering and domineering and domineering, you're always, rah, rah, rah at her, that's not the governing that you're supposed to have. That's not true evening style relations or covenant. That's the man's understanding. And so when that governance isn't given to you as it's supposed, like organically is what I want to say, because when you in right standing with the Most High, it's going to fall into place. When you're obedient and serving unto the Most High, and when you're showing that, no, I can't submit my ear to you and take into consideration what you're saying and, make a decision based on the wisdom that's been imparted unto you as my wife, when you're showing that submission is going to come to you organically. That submission is going to come to you naturally. But yeah, it bothers me being a woman that in this walk, we do hear a lot that domineering, rah, 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 shut your mouth, submit to your man. Like, so you don't think women have nothing to say? I can name women all throughout the Bible that have things to say, that have been put in positions of power, that have had judgment and rulership over the nation, if not this nation, over other nations. Two right out here that I can think of that have been in a position of rulership. And you want to sit here and tell me that women are not supposed to do anything because of what Paul said, but you're not putting Paul's words into context? No, sir. That's right. That's evil. That's not Paul.
Yeah, all praises. Like, because that's the thing. Like, the objective of it is both are supposed to be working together in tandem to serve the Most High. Like, as long as that's what the goal is for both, you'll notice it should be simple to have humility to one another, because that humility to one another is humility unto the Father.
Yeah.
Because we both trying to serve the Father. Like,
Yeah, it's all agreement. We all serve one, no one is right for anyone, he's right at us,
So
exactly.
like, that's why, like, okay, yeah, absolutely. If I hear something that, okay, let me hear your perspective on it. Okay, yeah, you're right. That is what the goal is. That's what the Isha is there for. If something is off, I'm supposed to, let me know. If I ain't see it and I'm about to run astray, I'm supposed to be. That's what the accountability partner is there for. And the same likewise, vice versa. All praises. So, keeping this in mind, it shows the kind of dominion that the man is to have over the woman. First, himself being governed by Elohim so that he can serve his house through his leadership. And it's always, you're going to find that it's always going to not be about self-seeking, but it will always be about service, right? That's what is the essence of what Mashiach is saying. Like, every Ish, his goal should be to serve his house. Okay, what does everybody need? Make sure that everybody have what they need. Make sure that everybody, this is what our goal is, serve Elohim. This is what the Father is where he's leading us. What's the goal here? And how can I get all of us there, right? It shouldn't never be no thing to where it's, no, you going so-and-so, because it's probably, if that's the case, and these are two that is come together under covenant with Elohim, and they both got a desire to serve Elohim, somewhere in there is probably saying that maybe one or the other is not serving Elohim and one is serving self. You know what I mean? Like, if you having that kind of issue where it can't be worked through, that's not to say that everybody going to agree with absolutely every perspective, but it is saying that one will be willing to, okay, let's come to the table, lay it out on the table. What do you see?
Yeah.
Right? Or, okay, Ish, why are you saying this the way that you're saying this? Why are we moving in this direction? Because I thought, okay, well, here's the reason why, boom, 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 right? And none of those reasons for either side across the board should be about self. It should be about serving one another. It should be about serving the house and most importantly, serving Elohim. But yeah, you often don't hear. You usually do hear, I ain't never mind. I'm not gonna go into it. But you do often hear the opposite side of it. Women are just expected to do what the man says, but it's not so much of doing what the man says. It's supposed to be, I see Elohim in you. We are collectively doing what Elohim says. That's the goal.
Because I was gonna say, like, if things are talked about in the feminine, and there's a feminine principle that is attributed to certain characteristics, whatever it is. As a woman, I'm gonna look through those things, get a clue as to how I am to operate. For example, wisdom being referred to in feminine as a feminine principle. And wisdom is Solomon, I believe, talks about wisdom, how she was there from the beginning, was brought up as one with the Most High, with Yahweh. Before he made anything, she came forth and she had a hand in creating all those things. So he got shot called, did the, no, I'm creating this. This is what I want to see done. And through wisdom, the things were done. It to me just kind of shows how, or reflects how that relationship in some aspect could and should be shown in the earth, in the mankind, in the earth, being the head of the household. Okay, this is what I want to see done. And then through wisdom and consideration, through wife, consulting with that wife, maybe she knows this, maybe she knows that, whatever it is, or maybe she's better at doing certain things, whatever it may be. Through wisdom, figuring out how to get those things done. And if you don't take the time to consult or to submit that ear to the feminine principle, to the wisdom, to that portion of it, you in folly. You're in running pace.
Experience.
It just, to me, that's a huge thing, or that's scripture, like I said, I forget exactly where. But that's what brings it home for me. Like, I'm taking cues as a woman from these scriptures, so I need to understand how women operate. Because there's not a whole lot of scriptures like that where we can, pick up from clues, cues, and all of that stuff. Like, we got to pick it up where we can.
This is so essential. Like we saw how you wonderful lesson. I pointed out the source of the seed. The seeds we consume, we take on the likeness of its source. Man, straight to being an accuser and trying to vindicate himself to know them. So here we're instructed, okay, you want to be like the Most High? Become a servant. Become a servant. In your household, if you are the example for the house, being the head, if you serve your household, naturally they're going to want to serve. Why? Because they're reaping the benefits of being served. And it's going to be natural to pay it forward. Then your household is becoming more like the Most High. That was interesting. How that works.
And it's just just thinking about that whole dynamic, how marriage is a reflection of that heavenly covenant as well. He loves the Most High, loves those who love wisdom. Come on now, what is he really saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, just to that point is my household, father gives me a direction, something we need to accomplish. It's not on me for me to come and try to get this done tyrannically. It would behoove me to figure out how to support and edify my counterpart so that she can do her part, which helps me do my part.
That part. That part.
Better I get at serving her in her function.
Get us there than him. In his function. It's not just to take. Oh, he goes there, he gonna real mouthy, he gonna do this for me. No, like. But his back, he had a hard day at work. Yeah, I'm having a hard day with kids. He has a hard day at work. He asked me to do this for him. That's what I do.
That might mean I need to take on the children so that she can do what I'm asking her to do. Not, oh, I need you to do that and take care of kids.
And I need some food. And I need,
Like, come on.
and the school look good. You need to back and it.
I would, you know what I mean? Like, if you would be crushed under the weight, don't be so quick to throw it on somebody else.
That part. That part. All praises. So, again, curses for our redemption, right? It's a whole everything is all set up in order for us to have a shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's all set up in order for us to just maybe
That part.
be able to get it right. Ephesians 5:22, right? Women, submit yourselves unto your own men as unto Yahuwah. For the man, now, if you're going to submit yourself unto your man as unto Yahuwah, that means that Yahuwah has to be in that man, right? If Yahuwah is not in that man, how you submitting yourself to your man like Yahuwah if Yahuwah is not in him, right? For the man is the head of the woman, even as Mashiach is the head of the called out assembly. And he is the savior of the body. Therefore, as the called out assembly is subject unto Mashiach, so let the woman be let the women be to their own men in everything. Men, love your women, even as Mashiach also loved the called out assembly. He just told us what he's doing for it. He gave himself as a ransom for it, right? And gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. So that means that the man has to have word in him, and that's what he's delegating out, right? That he might present it to himself, a glorious called out assembly. Why? Because he wants his wife to be his trophy. The better that you get cleansed, and the better that I'm in tune with the Most High, the more that you and I can be in tune, the more of a benefit you are to me, right? So that's what the goal is.
Absolutely. It brings to mind that the question in scripture, what does it benefit a man? Gain the world, but lose his soul. Now, if you ignorantly signed a marriage contract thinking it was all about you, not about you being a servant unto Yahuwah, to do your best to usher this soul back to him, you might be operating as a father.
That part.
Because I was all in the father. But then it became evident. My assignment in this marriage is to give myself that this one might make it back home to Yahuwah. Now, if I done built an empire financially, but spiritually, she ain't prepared for Judgment Day to receive mercy on Judgment Day, where you have a shot.
It's the F on the test.
What about the game? Because what was my one responsibility? Like, I agreed to do my best to usher his daughter back home. My focus ain't been on that. What are my eyes open to?
Khan. All praises. Khan. Khan. Verse 27, he said that he might present it to himself a glorious called out assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be set apart and without blemish. So ought men to love their women as their own bodies. He that loves his woman loves himself. All praises. Verse 29, for no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as Adonai, the called out assembly. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause, man shall leave his father and mother. There's that verse again. For this cause, man shall leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his woman, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery. But I speak concerning Mashiach and the called out assembly. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his woman, even as himself, and the woman see that she reverence her man. So remember that I said we was going to come back to that verse. Here it is, right? We just saw it. And the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his woman, and they shall be one flesh, right? So all of this is all telling us about this relationship that we ought to have with one another so that we can get back on one accord and get back in track with the Father, right? So now something that's interesting is about them becoming one flesh, because oftentimes when we consider the flesh, we think of a cursed thing.
Yep.
But what we'll see is that even the flesh was designed in a way for our redemption, right?
All praises.
So mastery of the flesh is what separates the wheat from the tares. That means there was a judgment that we deserved.
Yeah.
But instead, I'm going to give you an opportunity, and this flesh is going to be the proving ground, right? You either going to master this thing and bring forth the fruit from my seed. I'm going to plant it in this flesh, and let's see what happens. Or you're going to bring forth tares. It's all up to you what you choose to do with this flesh. But that's what's going to be weighed in the balance at the end of the day, right? So mastery of the flesh is what separates the wheat from the tares. The thing is that the flesh brings forth corruption. But because of this flesh, if one will rule over it, he will be rewarded access to the tree of life again. Through the example Mashiach showed us. Mastery and freedom over the flesh is the quote-unquote good news or the gospel of the kingdom. This is why Mashiach came in the likeness of flesh to condemn sin. So you always ask, well, why did Mashiach have to come in this flesh? That's the ticket to our salvation. He has to. Because if we can master this flesh, we can be redeemed with the Father. And he's showing us how to do it.
And that is possible. Like, there's no more a thing. That's been fact checked. It is possible.
Yep. It's not a hypothesis anymore.
Right.
This is not a theory. This is tried and true. It's proven. All praises. So now notice this. This is our word for flesh in Hebrew. Bashar. H1320. From H1319. Flesh. From its freshness. By extension, the body or a person. Also by euphemism, the pudenda of a man. Body, fat, lean. It's the flesh, right? Nakedness, self, or skin. The root of this word, H1319, same word, bashar, a primitive root, properly to be fresh, that is full, rosy, figuratively cheerful, to announce glad news. This is what the flesh is supposed to be doing for us. Because without him giving us this and giving us this proving ground, the judgment is set. But he's giving us an opportunity to say, okay, well, whatever you decide to do with this flesh, then I'm going to give you in this life, then I'm going to give you. Whatever you choose to do, because we know he's going to get tried by our works, whether Tob or Ra, right? This is the good news. A stone of offense, right? A rock of offense, a stone for stumbling, or a chief cornerstone. But it's all up to you. messengers to preach, to publish, show forth, to bring, carry, preach these glad tidings, this good news, right? Now, interestingly, the word for Bashar, same word for flesh in the Greek, euangelion, a good message, that is the gospel, right? From G2097, euangelizo, same where we get like evangelize, to announce good news, to evangelize, especially the gospel, to declare, to bring, declare, or show glad or good tidings, to preach the gospel. So often we don't even understand exactly what this gospel is. This gospel of the kingdom of heaven. Repent because the kingdom is near. Bring forth fruit worthy of repentance. Because every tree that does not bring forth told fruit is cast into the fire, hewn down and cast into the fire. The axe is already laid at the root of the trees. This is the whole good news paradigm. And why Mashiach embodies this good news. And they're happy, came to show us how it can be done, how to get back to the Father. All praises. All praises.
Not a servant somebody denies, a servant that, I make it easier for them to look up and behold the Father. Yeah.
All praises. Same good news. Isaiah 61:1. The Ruach of Adonai Yahuwah is upon me, because Yahuwah has anointed me to preach the Bashara, Sora, this good news, this gospel. So notice that the gospel existed all the way back in Isaiah, right?
Yeah.
Unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Captives of what? All of this is all tied together. And the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah and the day of vengeance of our Elohim, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the ruach of heaviness, that they might be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of Yahuwah, that he might be glorified.
What tree are we? What seed are we grown from?
All told. All praises. And they shall build the old waste places, or the old waste. They shall raise up from the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. And the stranger shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the foreigner or the alien shall be your plowmen and vine dressers. But you shall be named priests of Yahuwah. Men shall call you the ministers. These are servants, right? Of Elohim, of our Elohim. You shall eat the riches of the other nations, and in their glory you shall boast yourselves. For your shame you shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. For I, Yahuwah, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth, and I will cut an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the other nations, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which Yahuwah has blessed. Tob news, right? This is our Brit Kadashah portion of the Torah portion. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Speaking of Mashiach, obviously. And then jumping down to verse 10. He was in the world. We talked about that world earlier. And the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came into his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them he gave power to become sons of Yahuwah, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Yahuwah. So there's something about their own will that they done turned away from, and now they've been born of the Father's will. And the word was made flesh. Good news. Good news. And tabernacled among us, and we beheld his esteem or his glory, and the glory of the Yahid, or the beloved Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. All praises. Ephesians chapter 2, because we talked about that enmity earlier. What exactly is Mashiach doing when he comes in this flesh? Right? This is the 100% ticket to our redemption. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 11. Wherefore remember that you being time past the other nations in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time you were without Mashiach, being aliens from the words or of the covenants, right? Being aliens of the Devarim, of the words. For the I'm sorry, y'all. They got a whole sub thing that they don't put in here trying to explain it. It's throwing of the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without Yahuwah in the world. But now in Mashiach Yahusha, you who sometimes were afar off are made nigh by the blood of Mashiach. For he is our peace, who has made both one, and has broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity. So now you're going to see that there's this enmity, and now this enmity is popping back up. But not only is this enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman, but it's in you, right? You got Tov and Ra in you, and they are always at enmity with one another, right? This is what Paul was talking about in Romans chapter 8, right? The things that you ought to do, you end up not doing, and the things that you shouldn't, you do, right? All because there's this war going on in you, right? But Mashiach is going to show us how to overcome and how to win this war. And instead of it being the two opposing forces within, to bring it into singularity and to give you one, Achai, lining up and being at one with Yah, right? So he says, the commands of the statutes contained in dogma, to make in himself of two, so there was two, one new man, so making peace or shalom, and that he might reconcile both unto Yahuwah in one body by the cross or the stake, having slain the enmity thereby. So now there's something about this opposing force to life that he gonna do away with, right? It's not the Torah, it's so that we might actually walk in the Torah, right? What verse was that? Verse 17. And came and preached peace to you which were afar off, and them which were not. For through him we both have access by one Ruach unto the Father. This is what it was all about. Without this, get access back to the Father. Only thing that's left is judgment. That's it. But through his compassion, okay, here's some flesh, master it. But we're going to see what you choose to do with your nefesh, right? All praises. It says, now therefore you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints or the Kodashim of the household of Yahuwah, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yahushua HaMashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together grows into a holy temple in Yahuwah, in whom you also are built together for a habitation of Yah through the Ruach. Right? And then this was the Haftarah portion, Isaiah 42. And really, because we're going to kind of ride this on out, we just read it, and yeah, we'd be ready to kind of wrap up. But you'll see how in all of this, it's going to start wrapping all of the garden up. So he says, behold, my servant, whom I uphold, my elect one, in whom my soul delights. I have put my Ruach upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the other nations. Now, just like we saw her earlier when we operated out of the seed or the counsel of the serpent, how we became as the serpent, and we received the same exile that he had received. You don't see how operating under the seed of Yah and under the seed of his servant, how we gonna start to reap and operate and function in them same benefits as well. Like you're gonna see that it's a dual thing. Like the very thing that Mashiach is doing as a whole, for the whole, you also gonna see that it's gonna be Israel's function for the nations. All praise. So he says, my elect one in whom my soul delights. I have put my Ruach upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the other nations. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. That's right. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the spoken flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged, till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his Torah. Thus says Yahuwah, El Yahuwah, he that created the heavens and stretched them out, he that spread forth the earth, and that which comes out of it, he that gives breath unto the people upon it, and Ruach to them that walk therein. I, Yahuwah, have called you in righteousness, and will hold your hand, and will keep you, and give you for a covenant of the people, for a light of the other nations, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and to bind them, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am Yahuwah, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Sing unto Yahuwah a new song, and his praise from the end of the earth. You that go down to the sea, and all that is therein, the isles and the inhabitants thereof. Let the wilderness and the cities thereof lift up their voice. The villages that Kedar inhabits, the inhabitants of the rock sing. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. Let them give glory unto Yahuwah and declare his praise in the islands. Yahuwah shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yell, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. I have long time held my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and dry up all their herbs. And I will make the rivers islands, and will dry up the pools. And I will bring the blind by a way that they know not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them. They shall be turned back, and they shall be greatly ashamed that trust in graven images, that say to molten images, you are our Elohim. Hear you deaf, and look you blind. that you may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as Yahuwah's servant, seeing many things, but you observe not, opening the ears, but he hears not. Yahuwah is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the Torah and make it honorable. Man, this is Mashiach. And in turn, this is Israel.
Yeah.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivers, for a spoil, and none says restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers? Did not Yahuwah? He against whom we have sinned. For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his Torah. Therefore he has poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it has set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. 43 verse 1. But now thus says Yahuwah that created you, O Jacob, and he that formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon you. For I am Yahuwah Eloheka, Yahuwah your Elohim, and the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt or Mizraim for your ransom, Cush and Seba for you. Since you were precious in my sight, you have been honorable, and I have loved you. Therefore will I give men for you, and people for your life. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your seed from the east, and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from afar, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, going back to that creation. Yes, I have made him, created, formed, and made. Bring forth the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears. Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this, and show us former things? Let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified, or let them hear, and say, it is truth. All right, so last slide in closing. One to hit 1 Corinthians 11:2. He says, now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Mashiach is Yahuwah. So this is the order. If you bypass any chink in the armor, you're going to have a problem. What's the Mashiach without the Father? What's the man without Mashiach? What's the woman without the man? But all of them all together function as one, Akkad. So hopefully we can see Yah's love for the children of Adam. He gave us an opportunity to turn at his reproofs and correction, thereby choosing life. Let us all choose life. Genesis 3:21. And Adam also, unto Adam also, and to his woman did Yahuwah Elohim make coats of skin, and clothed them. And Yahuwah Elohim said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know Tov and Ra. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. Therefore Yahuwah Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground. So he has to leave the garden. Why? To till the ground from whence he was taken. He was taken from the earth, and now I need you to go out there and till that thing. Learn about this earth that you was taken from, because you brought forth the things that the earth brings forth. Now I need you to go out here and work. Learn about yourself. So he drove out the man. He placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and the flaming sword, which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life. And that's gonna come back up later on. So, but yeah, all praises. That's the lesson. Finally gonna get out of